Welcome to War Bios, the podcast where we delve into the lives of history's most fascinating military figures, exploring the strategic mind and moral character that shapes battlefield decisions. Today, we're going to embark on a journey through the remarkable story of Vasily Blyukher, a Soviet military leader whose career spanned some of the most tumultuous decades of the 20th century. Born on December 1, 1889, in Yaroslavl Governorate, Russian Empire, Vasily Blyukher grew up in a world on the cusp of profound change. The late 19th century was an era of burgeoning industrialization and social upheaval in Russia, with the effects of the Russo-Japanese War still resonating throughout the empire. It was against this backdrop that Blyukher's early life unfolded, shaped by the influences of his family, the societal norms of rural Russia, and the broader political currents sweeping the nation. Imagine a young Vasily walking through the rolling hills and dense forests of Yaroslavl, surrounded by the rustic charm of rural Russia. His family, though not affluent, valued education and encouraged his curiosity about the world beyond their community. The sound of horse-drawn carriages, the smell of freshly baked bread, and the sight of peasants working in the fields would have been familiar to him. This idyllic setting, however, was juxtaposed with the harsh realities of poverty, inequality, and social unrest that characterized Russia during this period. Blyukher's childhood was marked by a strong work ethic instilled in him from an early age. He worked as a laborer in a local factory, an experience that not only honed his physical stamina, but also gave him a first-hand understanding of the hardships faced by the working class. This period of his life laid the foundation for his future political leanings and informed his perspective on the role of the common soldier in the military. As he toiled alongside other workers, he would have witnessed the struggles of everyday people, their concerns, and their aspirations. These early experiences likely shaped his empathy for the ordinary soldier and his commitment to the principles of social justice. The years leading up to World War I were pivotal in shaping Blyukher's worldview. As tensions escalated across Europe, Russia found itself drawn into the conflict, and by 1914, the empire was at war. Although Blyukher's direct involvement in the war efforts began later, the climate of mobilization and patriotism that gripped Russia during this time undoubtedly influenced his decision to enlist. The sound of marching troops, the smell of gunpowder, and the sight of wounded soldiers would have been a stark contrast to the tranquility of his rural upbringing. Growing up, Blyukher was exposed to the stark contrasts of Russian society, the opulence of the aristocracy versus the poverty of the peasantry, the autocratic rule of the czars versus the burgeoning revolutionary movements. These early observations likely contributed to his eventual alignment with the Bolsheviks as he came to believe in the need for radical change in Russian society. The seeds of revolution were being sown, and Blyukher's experiences would have made him acutely aware of the disparities that existed within the empire. Before his military career took off, Blyukher's life was a tapestry woven from threads of labor, education, and the political ferment of his time. His decision to join the military was not merely a career choice, but a commitment to serve a cause larger than himself. The intersection of personal ambition, historical circumstance, and ideological conviction set Blyukher on a path that would lead him through the trials of war, the intrigue of military politics, and ultimately to the pinnacle of Soviet military leadership. As we navigate the complexities of his early life, we find the seeds of a commander who would one day face some of the most daunting challenges in modern military history, armed with nothing but his intellect, experience, and an unyielding sense of duty. As the Great War engulfed Europe, Vasily Blyukher's military career began to take shape, forged in the crucible of conflict and tempered by his experiences on the Eastern Front. In 1915, he enlisted in the Imperial Russian Army, driven by a sense of duty and patriotism that would soon be tested by the harsh realities of war. The trenches and battlefields of World War I proved a baptism by fire for Blyukher, as he witnessed firsthand the carnage and inefficiencies of the Russian war effort. The incompetence of the aristocratic officer corps, coupled with the hardships endured by common soldiers, further solidified his sympathies with the Bolsheviks, who promised a more equitable and just society. In 1916, Blyukher was wounded in combat, a brutal introduction to the personal costs of war. Hospitalized for several months, he underwent a transformation as the physical pain of his wounds was matched by the intellectual and emotional ferment of his convalescence. During this period, he devoured revolutionary literature, engaging in clandestine discussions about the future of Russia with fellow soldiers and like-minded individuals. The writings of Marx, Lenin, and other radical thinkers ignited a fire within him as he began to see the war not just as a clash of armies, but as a struggle for the very soul of Russia. Upon his return to duty, Blyukher found himself at odds with his superiors, who viewed his newfound radicalism with suspicion. This tension would eventually lead to his dismissal from the Imperial Army in 1917, a turning point that marked the beginning of his journey as a dedicated revolutionary. The February Revolution, which toppled the Romanov dynasty, was a moment of triumph for Blyukher and his fellow Bolsheviks. As the old order crumbled, he joined the ranks of the Red Army, where his military expertise, combined with his ideological commitment, made him an attractive candidate for leadership positions. In the summer of 1918, Blyukher was appointed commander of the Eastern Front, a critical theater in the Russian Civil War. His successes on the battlefield earned him recognition from Vladimir Lenin himself, who took notice of the young officer's strategic prowess and his ability to inspire loyalty among his troops. The Perm operation in 1918 stands out as a notable example of Blyukher's tactical genius, as he employed innovative tactics, including the use of partisan units and clever maneuvers to outflank his opponents. The operation resulted in a decisive victory for the Red Army, with the capture of the strategic city of Perm, a triumph that not only showcased Blyukher's military acumen, but also demonstrated his ability to adapt to challenging circumstances. As the Civil War drew to a close, Blyukher turned his attention to the Far Eastern Republic, a Soviet-backed state established in 1920. He played a key role in the region's defense, coordinating efforts with local partisan groups and leading campaigns against Japanese and White Russian forces. His experiences in the Far East would later influence his views on the importance of regional security and the need for strategic cooperation with neighboring countries. The vast expanse of Siberia, with its untapped resources and strategic significance, became a focal point for Blyukher's efforts as he worked to secure the borders of the Soviet Union and promote the cause of socialism. Throughout this period, Blyukher developed close relationships with other prominent Soviet military leaders, including Mikhail Frunze and Sergei Kamenev. These connections not only facilitated his rise through the ranks, but also provided him with a network of like-minded individuals who shared his commitment to the Bolshevik cause. As he navigated the complex world of Soviet military politics, Blyukher's reputation as a skilled commander and dedicated revolutionary continued to grow. In the early 1920s, Blyukher became involved in the development of the Red Army's doctrine, emphasizing the importance of mobile warfare and combined arms tactics. His contributions to this effort helped shape the Soviet military's approach to modern warfare, paving the way for future innovations. The concept of deep battle, which emphasized the use of armor, artillery, and air power to break through enemy lines, was a key component of Blyukher's strategic vision. As he looked out upon the vast expanse of Siberia, Blyukher knew that his work was far from over. The challenges of building a new society, defending its borders, and spreading the revolution would continue to demand his unwavering dedication and unrelenting effort. As the Soviet Union entered a period of relative stability, Blyukher's focus shifted toward the modernization of the Red Army. He recognized the need for the military to adapt to emerging technologies and changing global circumstances. His advocacy for mechanization, aviation, and other innovations would eventually bear fruit as the Soviet military began to transform into a more efficient and effective force. The journey ahead would be long and arduous, but Blyukher remained resolute, driven by his conviction that the cause of socialism and the security of the Soviet Union depended on the strength and resilience of its armed forces. In the years that followed, Blyukher's influence extended beyond the military sphere as he became a key figure in the development of Soviet foreign policy. His experiences in the Far East had taught him the importance of regional security and cooperation, and he played a crucial role in shaping the Soviet Union's relations with its neighbors. The Sino-Soviet Treaty of 1924, which established diplomatic relations between the Soviet Union and China, was a significant achievement for Blyukher, who recognized the potential for cooperation between the two nations. As the years passed, Vasily Blyukher continued to play a pivotal role in shaping the Soviet military's strategic vision. His emphasis on modernization, mechanization, and combined arms tactics leaving an indelible mark on the Red Army's doctrine. The winds of change were blowing across the vast expanse of the Soviet Union, and Blyukher stood at the forefront, guiding his nation's military towards a new era of technological superiority and innovative warfare. His influence extended beyond the military sphere, as he became a key figure in the development of Soviet foreign policy, particularly in the Far East. As Blyukher navigated the complex web of international politics, he found himself walking a tightrope between rival powers, each vying for dominance in the region. The treaty, a masterstroke of diplomacy, not only secured Soviet interests, but also paved the way for future cooperation between the two nations. This seminal moment in Blyukher's career showcased his exceptional ability to balance competing demands and forge alliances that would serve the Soviet Union's long-term strategic goals. In the late 1920s and early 1930s, Blyukher's star continued to rise as he became one of the most prominent military leaders in the Soviet Union. He was appointed as the commander of the Far Eastern Front, where he oversaw a series of successful campaigns against Japanese and White Russian forces. The rugged terrain and unforgiving climate of the region proved to be a crucible for Blyukher's leadership skills, as he adapted his tactics to counter the enemy's guerrilla warfare and exploited the weaknesses in their defenses. His military genius and leadership skills earned him widespread recognition, both within the Soviet Union and internationally. As Blyukher's reputation grew, so did his influence on the next generation of Soviet military leaders. He became a mentor to many young officers, including the future Marshal of the Soviet Union, Georgy Zhukov. Blyukher's emphasis on combined arms tactics, mobility, and adaptability would later shape Zhukov's own approach to warfare as he led the Red Army to victory in World War II. The relationship between Blyukher and Zhukov was more than just a passing of the torch. It represented a deep bond between two kindred spirits, united by their passion for military excellence and their commitment to the Soviet Union. Despite his many successes, Blyukher's life was not without its challenges. He faced intense scrutiny and criticism from some of his colleagues who viewed him as too independent and unconventional. The purges of the 1930s, which saw the execution or imprisonment of many high-ranking Soviet officers, also took a personal toll on Blyukher. He lost several close friends and colleagues, including his former comrade, Mikhail Frunze. The atmosphere of fear and paranoia that pervaded the Soviet Union during this period made it difficult for Blyukher to navigate the treacherous waters of politics, as even the slightest misstep could prove fatal. In 1938, Blyukher was arrested and charged with treason as part of the wider purges orchestrated by Joseph Stalin. Despite his many achievements and contributions to the Soviet Union, he was subjected to a show trial, where he was forced to confess to fabricated crimes. The once mighty warrior who had faced down enemy armies and forged alliances with foreign nations was now reduced to a mere pawn in Stalin's game of power and manipulation. On November 9, 1938, Vasily Blyukher was executed, marking the end of an extraordinary life. As the Soviet Union began to rebuild and reassess its history in the aftermath of Stalin's death, Blyukher's legacy underwent a significant reevaluation. In 1956, he was posthumously rehabilitated, and his contributions to the Soviet military were officially recognized. Today, he is remembered as one of the most innovative and influential military leaders of the 20th century, whose ideas and strategies continue to shape modern warfare. He embodied a unique combination of intellectual curiosity, strategic vision, and personal courage, which inspired countless others to follow in his footsteps. His observations on the nature of war, as recorded in his writings and speeches, offer valuable insights into the complexities of human conflict. As he once observed, the art of war is not just about winning battles, but about understanding the complexities of human nature and the ever-changing landscape of conflict. These words, penned by a man who had witnessed the worst of humanity. serve as a poignant reminder of the importance of empathy and adaptability in the face of uncertainty. In the end, Vasily Blyukher's life serves as a powerful reminder of the enduring importance of leadership, innovation, and adaptability in the face of uncertainty. His story continues to inspire new generations of military leaders, strategists, and historians, offering valuable lessons about the complexities of war and the human experience. As we march towards victory, we would do well to remember Blyukher's example, embracing the principles of intellectual curiosity, strategic vision, and personal courage that defined his extraordinary life. That's all for today's War Bios. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, I'm General Biography reminding you to keep marching toward victory.